About 4.5 years ago, I decided to take my first foray into getting a dedicated travel card. At that time, I had a couple credit cards, both cash back, and I was always curious about points and miles and the value that they had and the places I could visit using those rewards. I was still very early in my career and didn't travel very much, and so travel cards like the City Premier weren't really an option for me because of the annual fee. I was pretty scared of annual fees back then. The card I ultimately picked was the Capital One Venture One, and at that time the card did not have transferable miles. It only allowed you to reimburse yourself for travel you paid for on the card at a rate of 1 cent per point. However, at that time I got 10x back on hotels.com, which was a site I used frequently back then. Ultimately though, I stopped using the card and it became a sock drawer card I kept open for the credit history. Recently, I got an email from Capital One saying they were going to send me a new card because my old one had expired. And that got me thinking, perhaps this card isn't so useless after all. I've been thinking a little bit about the Venture One card, and I was wondering, is there any way I can make this card good? In today's video, I'm going to go over the Venture One and a card setup to complement it, and we'll see how well it matches up to the competition. How's it going, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you haven't done so already, I'd appreciate it if you could hit the like button down below, subscribe, and turn on notifications to help with the algorithm. I come out with videos periodically where I offer unique perspectives on cards that are typically overlooked, so check back soon if you don't want to miss any of that. Let's start off with talking about who this card is for. It's definitely not for experienced credit card enthusiasts, as there are plenty of other cards for them with much better value. This card is for travel beginners who don't want to pay an annual fee and likely don't travel all too much. So for the purposes of finding cards to complement this one, all cards will have no annual fee. The Capital One Venture One comes in both Visa and MasterCard varieties, but for the purposes of this video, I'll be covering the Visa signature version of this card, though the MasterCard will have very similar benefits. This card comes with an extended warranty benefit that extends the manufacturer warranty by a year, which is a great benefit to have, as many credit card issuers are doing away with this benefit these days. This card also comes with secondary rental car collision damage waiver, which will cover you in the event that the rental car is damaged or stolen. This insurance is secondary to your personal insurance, but it will cover you for the portion your insurance won't cover, such as the deductible and the loss of use fees from the rental car company. You also get lost luggage reimbursement and travel accident insurance as well through this card to give you peace of mind while traveling. It is missing trip delay or cancellation insurance, but given that this is a no annual fee card, that isn't really surprising. Like all Capital One credit cards, this card has no foreign transaction fees. For rewards, this card earns a flat 1.25x back in Capital One miles on everyday purchases and 5x back when booking through the travel portal. Capital One miles can be redeemed in the travel portal at 1 cent per mile, used as a statement credit for external travel expenses, again at 1 cent per mile, or transferred to transfer partners. On the screen right now is a list of one-to-one airline transfer partners. As of recording this video, a noteworthy transfer partner is Air Canada Aeroplan, which saw significant changes in 2020. Now the Aeroplan award charts has fixed rates for partner awards, such as United or other Star Alliance partners, which can get you huge value for redemptions. For hotels, we have Wyndham Rewards and Choice Hotels as one-to-one transfer partners. The better partner is going to be Wyndham Rewards, as they have a fixed award chart where most rooms are about 15,000 points per night, giving you a value of about 1.1 to 1.2 cents per point in value. Choice Hotels, on the other hand, only gets you about 0.6 cents per point for their loyalty program. Overall, whether you want easy redemptions through the travel portal or to play the transfer partner game, this card gives you some flexibility on the redemption, which is something that most no annual fee credit cards do not offer. However, all that said, the Capital One Venture One is pitiful when it comes to rewards earnings. At 1.25x back, it trails cards like the Citi Double Cash for earning rewards. This sort of brings up the question, what are Capital One miles worth? The points guy puts them at about 1.85 cents per mile, but I believe that's taking into account savvy point redemptions for aspirational business class travel. However, given this card, as I said, is targeted for beginners, I'm going to use a conservative valuation of 1.1 cents per mile, which is about equal to Wyndham points. This brings the base earnings of the Venture One to about 1.37% back in cashback equivalents. As you notice, this card does not have any categories other than the travel portal category, so to help with that, we're going to bring in the Capital One Saver One card to complete the duo. The Saver One rewards can be transferred to the Venture One for additional redemption flexibility. And the Saver One will be used for most of our spending as it covers dining, groceries, entertainment, and streaming services at a rate of 3x miles back, or about 3.3% cashback equivalents. For gas, we're going to introduce the Wyndham Earner Card from Barclays. This card earns 5x back on gas purchases, and given that Wyndham is a transfer partner of Capital One, this synergizes well with the setup. Wyndham points are conservatively worth 1.1 cents per point, and so you get 5.5% back in cashback equivalents for just gas. This card also gets you automatic Wyndham Gold status, which, if I'm honest, doesn't really get you much, but at certain properties you'll have a priority check-in line. Of course, no setup would be complete without a rotating category card, and for that I recommend the Discover It Cashback. This card gives rotating quarterly 5% back cashback categories, and though they aren't travel points, cashback can be used for anything you want, like dining and theme park rides, which are travel expenses that points and miles won't cover. But in theory, you can replace this with any 5% card. You can replace it with the Chase Freedom Flex, the Citi Custom Cash, or the US Bank Cash Plus, whatever you see fit for your credit card setup. Last, and this card is optional since Capital One usually doesn't allow you to have more than 2 personal cards, is the Capital One Quicksilver. This card will boost your earnings rate from 1.25x to 1.5x for non-category spend. Not much of an improvement, but it's something. Now, let's compare this setup to some alternative setups from Wells Fargo and Citi. For Wells Fargo, we're going to assume a duo of the Autograph card and the Active Cash card, which are technically both cashback cards. And for Citi, we'll use the Citi Trifecta, composed of the Citi Premier, Citi Double Cash, and the Citi Custom Cash. On the Wells Fargo side, it gets 3% back on gas, transit, restaurants, travel, streaming, and phone plans. 2% back on everything else. The Capital One setup wins in almost every category except for non-category spend and phone plans. Additionally, Wells Fargo points are not transferable. You won't get any extended warranty benefits nor any hotel statuses through Wells Fargo either. Now let's compare this card to a setup that does come with an annual fee. The Citi Trifecta comes with a $95 annual fee. For the purposes of this comparison, I'm going to treat Citi Thank You points equal to Capital One miles. You'll get 11% back on the travel portal, 3.3% back on groceries, dining, travel outside the portal, and gas stations, and 2.2% on everything else. With the Custom Cash card, you can choose any one of these categories to become a 5.5% back category. With this setup, it beats the Capital One setup, but just barely. It adds an external travel category which is not present on Capital One and beats the portal spend with 11% back as opposed to 5.5% back, and the non-category spend with 2.2% versus 1.37%. However, this is to be expected with a $95 annual fee, and if you don't take advantage of the $100 hotel credit for the Premier, the Citi Trifecta just isn't worth it. So overall, credit card rewards are like a game, and if you build the proper supports for it, the Capital One Venture One actually has good value and a good starter card for beginners. Furthermore, when annual fees become less and less intimidating, the Venture One can be later upgraded to a Venture X card for even more value. What are your thoughts about my setup? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like videos like this, be sure to check out my other videos on my channel using the link in the description down below. Until next time, I'm going to go out there and get some free stuff.